Hiya! Captain Kick!
What's up, FPL managers? Back with another episode of Big Points Theory, where the points are all that matters and I forget the rest. So, actually, you might notice my co-host down there seems to be a bit missing. Some sad, unfortunate news. Actually, he passed away. He died from complete boredom because he was waiting how long for the international break to disappear. I absolutely hate the international breaks. Why do we even have to have them? Or as I call them, garage sales for FIFA. It's just money making scheme. That's all I can say about it. So we actually got a big week this week, a double game week, substantial. I mean a proper double game week. You know, like when you go down to the windmill and you ask for that double Dagwood. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't believe me, let's have a look at those fixtures and like bang. All the big boys are playing doubles. Well, except for Liverpool. And I don't count Arsenal amongst the big boys anymore, so so we can discount them almost immediately. But otherwise, got a lot to go through. So what I'm actually gonna do is maybe I'm gonna go through this document first because keeping on the theme of my host here, he has actually sent me what I'm assuming is his final will and testament. Let me see. Raheem Sterling. Oh no. He's captain picks for game week 32. Okay. Well, since we want to we want to honor him. Let's actually start with the captain picks before we get to the news for this week. So here we go. And right, we are going to captain picks for this week, and so not too many surprises this week. I mean, we're obviously going to be focusing on the double game week. So we've got Hazard, Sterling, Aguero, and Kane. And we've actually got another one, which is an off the board pick here, which is Aubameyang. Yeah, it's not bad to consider. Let's see if I can bring him up here. Aubameyang. If only I could spell. Here we go. Aubameyang. That's it. So out of these guys, I think the most important thing to note obviously is that out of these guys, you have to be really concerned about who's actually going to be playing in the double game week, like playing both games. Regarding Mr. Hazard, I think he's not been on the greatest form, right? But you might want to pick him as captain this week because he's likely, out of all of those guys, I think he's the most likely to start, right? He did play both these games for Belgium, and I think he scored. So he's got a bit of form coming back now into the Premier League. So we are maybe hoping that he's actually gonna perform again, But how are Chelsea gonna perform? Which way is the wind blowing? I don't know, So you are taking a bit of a risk, but I'm guessing that their fixtures are what will attract you to the Chelsea team in general. They're playing Cardiff away, and then they're playing Brighton at home. So I mean, those are pretty good fixtures. And in those reverse fixtures from this, Hazard's actually scored 33 points. So he's definitely worth a look. But then major con, he's had 7 blanks in the last 11 games. I'm like, no. It's definitely not in his form. You'll be picking him as a differential, I would say, because I'm pretty sure everybody else is going to jump on the City bandwagon. But if I'm looking carefully here, so he actually also bagged a hat-trick against Cardiff in game week 5. Oh, that was a long time ago for Mr. Hazard. I wonder if he'll get back to form once he moves to Real Madrid. But he has scored 9. He scored in 9 games and returned double figures in 8 of those games. So this is scraps. I think you're really grasping at straws. If you're at the bottom of your table, I think maybe Hazard would be the one you would go for. But it would be crazy if he turned out to be like the top scorer for this week, for this double game week. Just remember the games are going to be played Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that's the only thing you can do is hope Hazard performs there. Moving on to Sterling. Sterling, let's see what Mr. High Score had to say about Sterling. So, well, look, he has tremendous stats, I must say. I mean, I think he might very well be the only player that's actually got double figures in both assists and goals. Because I'm looking here and I'm like, he's got 15 goals, 13 assists in 23 matches, and in the last 6 he's got 5 goals and 3 assists. He also scored for England, but he also played both games for England. So now you have to worry about his rotation chances. With Pep, you never know the way he's gonna go. And if I'm looking at their fixtures, I mean they've got the most delicious fixtures out of all of the teams. They're playing Fulham away from home, fine, and then they're playing Cardiff at home. Now that's two smash jobs right there. I don't see anything other than a smash job happening there. But yeah, he's got 8 double figure hauls, which is the joint most. And of course, he's been involved in the most goals, obviously, in the season. It's 28. He did play 180 minutes, obviously, as I mentioned, for England. So there's like a very high chance that he might not play for both. But when I was looking at the fixtures prior to this, he was one of the top players, to actually feature in the most games. So it was quite. I actually found it quite weird. Like I thought he would have been rested a bit more. I'm just hoping that the way the log looks right now, I think every game is going to be a pressure game. So I'm just maybe hoping there that City are gonna, or Pep rather, is gonna want to make sure that he plays his best players as much as possible. I know the Champions League's coming up in a couple of weeks' time, but it's against Spurs. I don't know. And again, you might argue with me to say like, look, these easy fixtures might be a good reason for him to rest the guys. But I'm thinking that he shouldn't want to take a chance. Like if I was him, I wouldn't want to take a chance right now. I want to make sure and put the points down on the board before I say, okay, hold them off. He has been managing these players. I mean, Bernardo Silva and Silva and Aguero. He has been managing them throughout the season. Because he's had like other options which are not so reliable, like Kevin De Bruyne and Jesus. So yeah, look, I mean his stats are powerful. The only reason you would maybe not pick him is because he might not play in both fixtures. And if you, like me, don't have the free hit, then you really don't want to take a chance with him. The other option then from the City team I would suggest then is Aguero. He didn't play for Argentina, so he's well rested. Apparently he was in Los Angeles. I don't know what he was, partying it up and stuff like that. So to me, he's like the best captain option because he's likely to play both games, and he's on full form, And of course, he's also the penalty taker. We mustn't forget to mention that. But yeah, even I think, look, the only con that's mentioned here is that there is also a risk of him not starting, but I don't think that's such a serious risk. I think even if he doesn't start both, he'll definitely play. And I mean, we know how devastating he can be in a span of 20 minutes, He can score a hat-trick, so I wouldn't take a chance. 39.8% ownership, sure. So I feel sorry for the people that don't have him. I think your free hit basically means he has to be in your team. Yeah, no one will be ducking Aguero after his double game week 25 exploits, 19 points. Yeah, we got stung there that time. Like Sterling, Fulham and Cardiff have already been smashed by Aguero. Yeah, we knew that. And yeah, 2 weeks off he's had. I think he probably will survive the rotation, and even if he doesn't, he's a solid guy. He's definitely also, he must be wanting to make sure to go after the golden boot, although a certain Mr. Mane has been threatening that recently. Yeah, so to me, Aguero, his stats, I mean they back up everything. He's definitely in the goal scoring department. He's on massive form, so definitely include him. Well, I would say he's your default captain, depending on where you are in your league. Moving on to Harry Kane. Right, so Harry Kane, I think another one who's likely to start both games. Although I will say he did also play for England, and he did score for England as well, so maybe that's like a hope for his form. But otherwise, it's been rotten, rotten. He's gotten absolutely nothing. If I look here, actually, let's see how terrible it really is. I remember I was like, damn, this Kane hasn't done anything. So yeah, he scored one for England. And then what did he do? Oh, I think he's done. Let's see here. I can just pull it up actually. Well, where am I going? I can look right here. He's got 3 goals in the last 6 games. So I mean that's not too horrific, but he hasn't been putting in the the shift like he usually does. I think this has been a bit of a low season for him. Obviously he's had that injury and whatever and coming back, but other problem I would say with him is Son having played. He went and played during the international break. I mean that guy must be tired, and I think when Son was performing, Kane was performing as well. So he doesn't quite have the backup that he had before. But again, he might be a solid differential until I look at the fixture they're playing, and guess what? Playing Liverpool away from home. So nah, for me, Kane, I'd kick him straight out of my team. I don't think I would even put him in my team. And then our last captain pick here, which would be Aubameyang. He has 8 goals and 4 assists in the last 8 games at home. Remember, this is Mr. Flat Track Bully himself. You know, I almost think they should he should shave his head completely so it resembles a flat track. He's got a good goal scoring record at the Emirates, obviously. But the major con for him, he's only playing 1 game and he's playing against Newcastle. Now, Newcastle haven't been great away from home, but I would still say that there's a chance that Arsenal can be terrible at it, you know. And also, what does he say? He says the Arsenal striker just made it on the list, predominantly because Arsenal are not part of the double game week, obviously. Yeah, and then he's got some honor. We've got some honorable mentions here. We've got Higuain, Lukaku, and Rashford. I will quickly discount Lukaku and Rashford. I'll mention why as we move to some of the FPL news. And then I would say, yeah, one last thing about it, Aubameyang is he's been quite consistent at home. So sure, you're taking a total chance if you're going to go with him. I think if you're going to go with him, you might as well go with Mane, who's been on radically amazing form. And even though he's playing Spurs at home, I think Liverpool will do the business at Spurs. They'd have to really be on the down to not take out Spurs, I think. The only other interesting thing I forgot to mention a little tidbit here. It looks like that when Spurs play their second game, they're going to be playing against Southampton, and it'll be at their new stadium. So maybe he'll want to christen the new stadium with a nice thick hat-trick, but that's just wishful thinking. Okay, so let's move on to some news. Yeah. So injuries wise, oh lordy. So United have quite a few injuries, and I say injuries because when I look at the list of Shaw and Bailly and Rashford and Lukaku, almost all of them did not play for their international team, and they pulled out with injury. Now Rashford has been carrying an injury for a while, and this is the reason I would said I would discount him. But he also hasn't scored in the last 5. So to me, I'm actually questioning if you'd even put him in your team. I would even suggest that if you're playing your free hit, maybe go for Jimenez. Yes, Jimenez is playing against United, and there is this other caveat that they are playing. They're playing FA Cup next week. Curses, we should be playing, but because of that, there is a high likelihood that Jimenez might even be rested. You know, because I'm sure Wolves will want to go as far as they can regarding the FA Cup. You know. So, but I would still trust him more than I would Rashford, because I will say at least Jimenez is clearly the best value FPL player for the season so far, and the way Wolves are playing, I would see him scoring. Whereas with Rashford, it looks like whenever Lukaku's in the game, then Rashford seems to not quite get into the scoring positions, you know. And okay, so if we move on to then there's Frazier. Yeah, Frazier's out. He will be a bit of a problem especially for people who are looking at maybe like Callum Wilson or something. But yeah, I think this week is the free hit week, so most people won't look at that team. Probably you would most likely go after your big players. Your um, for example, like your city players, you might look at Laporte. I mean, he did pretty well in the last double game week, so you won't be too concerned the fact that maybe Otamendi's not there. Actually, I haven't. It's not on the list here, but I believe also Company's not there either. So you're looking at you've got Laporte there, you've got Stones. Those are the guys you'd probably look at to bring into your team. I think defenders mustn't be underestimated for this week. Because I mean, if you get like say perhaps you bring in Luis for Chelsea, and Chelsea gets like two 1-0 wins, that's 12 points in the bag. For that double game week. Looking at other injuries, yeah. So Zaha, been on pretty good form, but I see he's got a tight hamstring, so there is a slight doubt that he might not play. Yeah, and then I've mentioned that. Ooh, that's a bit of inaccurate. There's a bit of fake news there. Spurs and Arsenal there. Whoa, fake news. But not fake news is game week 33 is a blank. So if you are one of the unfortunate few like myself that are not using the free hit, just remember that quite a few teams are not playing next week. So you might want to not go too deep on City and United in your team. Moving through the wall of heroes and wall of shame, the three guys who you might have been surprised, or rather two guys you might have been surprised were not on the captain picks, Salah and Pogba. Now Pogba, I'm pretty sure will play both games, but his form has not been great. He got one assist in 4 games. Like United have definitely dipped in form, but hopefully this resting time, and I think he did play for France. He might have gotten an assist if I'm not mistaken. So I'm pretty sure he'll play, but he doesn't really have form to speak of. And of course Salah. You can no longer afford to ignore the reality. He hasn't been scoring in lots of games. One assist in 5 games, and that goal scoring mantle has basically been taken up by Mane, and Mane has been amazing. 9 goals in 10 games. So to me, if you're gonna keep any of your Liverpool players, Mane would be the one, and get rid of Salah. Bring in Sterling perhaps, or use that money to fund your Aguero dream. And then I did mention Hazard. Well, Hazard's just up there because of what I mentioned. Double game week. He scored for Belgium. I think he might have actually scored twice. So he's got a little bit of form to come into. You're really just hoping that Chelsea are gonna show up on both of those games. And yeah, if I'm looking at some other news there. Look, if I were to go quickly through a couple of players that you might have considered for your free team, the likes of Sane. Sane had a really good game for Germany. That was a wonderful game, Germany versus Netherlands. The Serge Gnabry goal was amazing. But hey, I'm digressing. Sane scored, but it was a pretty simple goal. He didn't. I don't know. I don't think he did too much. Maybe not enough for himself to get a place in both games. So, because to me it's between him and Mahrez, and I think him and Mahrez have kind of been rotated by Pep, in alternating games. So to me, I don't think you'd want to bring him in because he's likely not to play both games. And who else would I have mentioned here? I did obviously speak about Jimenez. You might want to consider Doherty as well. I mean, he'll play the double game, but again, there's that worry about the FA Cup semi-final. Another team that I haven't mentioned here, that Zaha's Crystal Palace. Again, Zaha might have been a really good choice for a cheap double game week player, but do you think he's going to be rested so that he can, be well rested for the FA Cup semi-final? I mean, it's amazing that Watford have actually made it this far, but now you have to be concerned about them not playing. So this week, even though it's a lovely double game week, there's just that little worry that there's quite a few players that might not play. So you're gonna want. I think a lot of people are gonna want to stick with your Agueros and your Pogbas and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, I did mention that Aguero didn't play for Argentina. Yeah. Well, that's about it. Oh, I will mention that Batshuayi he might be an option. He plays, I think that's Crystal Palace. He scored for Belgium, so maybe he might be worth considering as a cheap double game week player. Other than that, no, I think that's about it. So, yeah, good luck with your teams this week, and hopefully one of those captains is going to do you a solid. I would love to know if anybody will take a chance with a triple captain this week, and if you who would you triple captain? Please leave comments in the comment section and tell me who you think. If you didn't have your free hit, who would you triple captain this week, and tell me why as well. Otherwise, if you like what we're doing here, please make sure to like the video and subscribe. And again, if there's anything you'd like us to go over or things you'd like us to talk about in the show, your opinions are more than welcome, and make sure you just place them in the comment section. Otherwise, good luck for this week. Cheers.